All right, testing. Testing. All right. So, what's going on today is I'm going to try to do this every week as best I can. And my goal here is just to connect, I guess, and to show off some of the stuff I'm working on. And so I'm going to start off today by using the amplifier. Got my guitar running straight into this amp right here on the EF86 stage, turned all the way up. And that's going into a 12-inch speaker, 8-ohm load. It's got an SM57 on the microphone, micing it up into the mixer. And then this SM7 is going right into the preamp of another one of my amps over here. Whoa, behind the LaCroix cans. All right, and so you're hearing the voice through the SM7, through the EF86 preamp stage, and you're also hearing the guitar going through the EF86 stage into the power amp section of this amp. And so, and as you might have heard, I had a little reverb that I turned up on the vocals and guitar just for effect, right? Consider that mixer reverb, in the box stuff. But yeah, I figured it'd be fun to play a couple of songs. And then after playing a couple of songs, showing off the amp, I'm going to assemble one that I've been working on. Same model as this. I'm going to marry the faceplate to the chassis and make all the connections and kind of talk about how I wire up, the volume controls, tone control, and all the stuff for the microphone input. But before we get too far into that, I figured it'd be fun to just play some tunes. All right. And our moderator, Bob Cobb, says we got good audio, and I really appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep on going. Here's I'm going to turn that reverb up. Here's a tune I worked out today from memory, M. Ward song. Tell me, how does it feel to be traveling? How's it feel to live your life on the train and the aeroplane? I ain't gonna lie to you. Well, every town is all the same. Tell me, how does it feel to be traveling? How's it feel to live your life on the train and the aeroplane? Well, I ain't gonna lie to you. Well, every plan is all the same. How I wish it was not true, but I ain't gonna stand up here and lie to you. I believe y'all deserve more than that. Well, there's one thing that I've learned, brother, you know you're gonna get burned if you don't know where your love is at. I'm going to adjust some settings here and try another song that I actually can remember all the words to. Check. Yeah. Check. All right, I like that. I don't go to church on a Sunday. Don't get down on my knees to pray. Don't memorize the books of the Bible. I've got my own special way. And I know Jesus, He loves me. Maybe just a little bit more. So I fall down on my knees every Sunday at Sir Elderly's candy store. But I don't want no Abba Zaba. Oh, I don't want no Almond Joy. Oh, I tell you that there ain't nothing better that could be suitable for this boy. Well, he's the only thing that could pick me up, and he's better than a cup of gold. It's gotta be a chocolate Jesus if you wanna satisfy my soul. Whiskey in the shade, it's best to wrap your Savior up in cellophane. Well, he flows like the big muddy, and that's okay, 'cause you can pour him over ice cream for a nice parfait. But it's gotta be a chocolate Jesus. Oh, it makes me feel so good inside. It's gotta be a chocolate Jesus if you wanna keep me satisfied. If you wanna keep me satisfied. If you wanna keep me satisfied. Aha. All right. Very cool. So there, at least for the guitars, is a setting that's just on the edge of breaking up. And, you can see the VU meter jumping to a certain point there. It corresponds roughly with breakup, but it's just fun to watch it dance. But anyway, I had the volume knob set about 60 to 70% on that last one, even during the solo, I think. Ooh. But just by, moving the volume knob, you can get a whole lot of difference in the way that this thing will break up just from the guitar straight into the amp. So 100% of my volume knob at that setting sounds like this. So that's nice. That's fun. All right, cool. And yeah, at the beginning of the video, I was jamming along to a beat that I made, this thing. And just for fun, let's play with a really overdriven tone. So I'm going to chain this signal into this channel into that channel. So this is the output jumper. We're going to plug it into the input of the second amp. Max this out just about and turn this guy up a little bit. So now let's see what we can get out of this. And turn that reverb back on the guitar. that's enough of that. But you get the idea, and it's a lot of fun. So there's some fun games to be played when you're chaining one channel into the other. One that I like to do is what I just did, which is this tone knob. You can switch from one channel to the other. And when you do that, it essentially bleeds in a bright cap on that volume control. And so when you switch it out, it's totally disengaged from the other channel. But so let's say in this configuration, I've got the tone knob switched over to the first gain stage. Oh yeah. And I've got this thing on. It's going to cut all the lows and let the highs through. You're going to have a very bright sound. The more you bring this up, the more you introduce those lows. And of course, volume. But I see we've got a question here. Let me take a look at that. Thank you very much for the kind comments about the playing. And I haven't seen it done yet, but I have no doubt that if somebody wanted to, they could make an amp out of a microwave. If you've seen those, what are they called? The lunch boxes, those solid state little amps. Those look like a microwave. Sound pretty darn good too. But yeah, just a comment on this thing about the tone knob is that you can play with the volume knob and the tone knob to get sort of darker or brighter or tones that are lacking in bass, which is sometimes really fun. I mean, you can get a very dark sound, of course, by, for example, just rolling the tone knob all the way back, right? And I mean, turn this up a bit. But by leaving this volume knob set kind of low and turning the tone knob all the way up, the highs get through at almost, regular volume, while the lows and mids and all the stuff is attenuated. So at a very low setting like this, geez, it's like all bright. And then you turn up that second stage, let it start to overdrive the power tubes. I'm going to mute the microphone here so you can hear the SM57. You start to get a very overdriven sound that's very bright and very cool, very fun, because it makes it easier to do those pinch harmonics and stuff like that, right? So. All right. Anyway, I think that's enough of me noodling around on my guitar for now. I'm gonna shift gears here and set up this amp that I'm going to be working on today, and I'm going to try to talk about it a little bit while I'm working on it. But I'm going to put the hold music on for a second and just shift things around. So hold up just a sec, y'all. All right, all right. All right, excellent. Moving on. So this is the same model that I was just working on over there, and I've been working on this one in tandem with that one, but whenever I got that one finished a day or two ago, I stopped so that I would have something to do on the live stream today. This is, yeah, to, start doing this sort of thing. So, anyway, this is the same amp. It's just not quite put together yet, but some work has been done, right? And I would like to point that out. So what have I done to this? What have I not done, right? So when I get one of these, I strip out a lot of stuff, but I leave a lot of stuff in. So, I mean, first of all, obviously things like the power transformer, filter choke, output transformer, those things stay in because in a vintage amp that you're trying to convert, that's one of the things that is kind of neat about it, the old transformers, the old iron. And another thing that I leave is a lot of, the heater wiring. I leave the tubes designated for, the tubes that were used in the original circuit. And a lot of these wire wound resistors are great. They almost never go bad. And so those stay. Things like the plate resistors, the screen resistors, and the cathode resistors. Some plate resistors here, cathode resistor for the output tube here, and then some dropping resistors here. Those all stay. This guy right here, grid resistor on the output tube, he stays. And then what do I add or change? Well, I put some filter caps in here. There used to be, in the original, there's a big cap can, little cap can sitting right here. That gets replaced by a couple of capacitors here. There's another capacitor that hangs out here. That's replaced by this guy, and a fourth capacitor here. Those are all of your filter capacitors in the power supply. It's kind of neat and fun how they set this thing up so that you've got your B plus power supply originating at the rectifier, going through the filter choke and filter caps here, but always being available at the back end, which makes it easy to put your plate resistors and have the useful end right next to the tube socket for shorter wiring. So cathode bypass capacitors all get changed. Screen capacitor changed. And this one I had to put in a negative feedback resistor because the one that was there is gone. I can't remember if I took it out or if somebody else took it out, but it was gone. Anyway, what else? New coupling capacitors. And these will, they're sticking out like antenna right now. These will get married up with the volume controls of channel 1 and channel 2. So this socket and all of these associated components are for the EF86, the pentode, preamp pentode that we've got going on in there. And so over here we've got the cathode resistor and the cathode bypass capacitor. Right next to it we have the screen resistor and the plate resistor. And down here on the tube socket I have a 100 ohm grid leak resistor, and that is going to end up with a wire and a grid stopper that's going to go to a switch over here. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm going to need to dig out a couple of resistors here. So the first thing I'm going to do is, just to make it easier to work on it, I am going to be hinging the faceplate onto the chassis here. Whenever I take these apart, I save all of these various screws and things. I've got a big jar just off camera. So, yeah, that's what these are for. And let's get started. So, like I said, all I'm looking to do here is hinge it. All right, actually, I guess before I do, it might be fun to take a closer look at at the volume and tone controls, because that's something I'm actually pretty proud of and excited about. I mean, it's not, like no one's ever done anything quite like this before, but I think it's kind of neat. So, as we're used to seeing from the front, and maybe I'll hold it like this for y'all. We've got 2 volume controls and 1 tone control. Now, the tone control is switchable between the EF86 channel right here and the 12AX7 channel right here. So if it's over here, it's affecting the EF86. If it's over here, it's affecting the 12AX7. And both of those volume controls get mixed together. And so if you wanted to, you could run an input into the EF86 and an input into the 12AX7, mix them, have the tone control to one or the other, and set it to preference. And then all of that is going to be available at the line output, which is derived from the cathode of the mixing tube. And it's also going to be available at the speaker output, which is driven by through the output section and an EF86 tube. So the backside of that looks like this, right? It's a beautiful mess, but it's as neat as I could make it, right? We have here the volume of the EF86 and the volume of the 12AX7 and the tone control. And what I've got set up here is this bright cap, which is part of that tone control, gets blended into whichever volume control it's switched to. And that switching happens here, where the entire tone control circuit gets swapped from here to here or back, right? And over here, I've got a switch that determines whether the 1/4 inch or XLR combo jack shows up at the EF86. And what it looks like on the other side is this single pole double throw that is going to take either the tip from this combo jack or the return. What's going to happen here is our signal is going to go through here. We have a switch for a pad. Then it's going to go here. We have a switch for a phase inversion, which is just going to flip-flop these wires around. And the nice thing about this pad is that when it's disengaged, it's completely out of the circuit. It has no effect on the mic input at all. But this twisted pair, this wire right here, ends up getting connected to this microphone transformer. That is one of the things that I added to the amp. So the output from that microphone transformer is going to show up at that switch, which is going to allow us to send the transformer coupled XLR input into the EF86, where there it can be amplified through the speaker or through the line output. All right, so now that I've said all that, and the only other stuff going on here, we have a volume control and a jack for the line level output. So this is going to get, the shielded wire here is going to get connected to the capacitor coupled output from the cathode of the mixing side of the 12AX7. It's really simple. It just goes through the high value coupling cap into this 10K audio taper potentiometer, and that you send out to the jack, put it into your analog to digital converter, or your mixer or whatever, you know. Okay, so now I'm going to hinge this thing and move on to, you know, the rest of the amp. I may not finish this today. I'm just going to do it until I get bored, I guess. But yeah, maybe I'll save this one for the streams, and we'll finish it together. Where's that now? You know, I normally, when I'm working on amps, I'll listen to a podcast or something. I suppose I'm kind of pretending to be a podcast right now, but I may consider in the future just listening to a podcast while I do this. So maybe I'll tell y'all ahead of time what podcast I'm going to listen to, because I like to listen to a lot of movie review podcasts or analysis podcasts, and so I don't want to spoil a movie for you. That'd be a bummer. All right, so now I've got this thing hinged up. I wonder. All right, maybe just put a little music in the background of this to. Now I'm just distracting myself. All right. Anyway, so I've got this thing joined up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start piecing it together, right? So what goes where? Well, we've got two ground wires coming off of the input jacks and the volume controls here. So I'm just going to cut these to an appropriate length and solder them right here to this ground terminal. We've got a nice ground bus going in this amplifier, which grounds the preamp section, and then there's another grounding section for the power amp section and everything else. But we're just going to connect right to that ground bus, and then we're going to deal with connecting our inputs, outputs, and volume controls to everything else. All right, so I don't want too much length on this, right? But enough that if I ever want to hinge this thing in the future, it's not impossible. If I make an amp and you buy that amp and something ever goes wrong with it, I want you to let me know, because I'd like to fix it. And so I think about, even if it's not me fixing it in the future, I'd like it to be fixable. All right. So here we go. Maybe I better turn on my soldering iron. And I better dump all my tools out on the table, because we're doing this thing. Let's ground this sucker. Okay, so we got our ground connected there. That's nice. I like that. Let's connect this XLR output. Now this is the twisted wire that has already gone through pad and phase switch. So we've had our option to attenuate it and our option to flip the polarity on that. And now it's going into the microphone transformer. I have a little terminal here, 3-lug terminal with the center one grounded. And right now my mic input transformer is connected to that. So I'm just going to connect these guys to those terminals. And we're gonna solder it up. That's what it sounds like when your shoulder rubs the microphone. All right. So here, we've got them crimped in place. We'll just get them soldered on there right quick. Excellent. And very nice. Oh, transformer wire was trying to hide, but I got it. All right. Excellent. So our XLR input is now hooked up. I'm going to look into connecting a couple of these other inputs. Got a bag here of 47K resistors that I'm going to be using as grid stoppers on a couple of these. So first thing I'm going to do is do the input of the 12AX7 section. And so for that, I'm going to connect the resistor right to that wire, a little bit of heat shrink on it, and connect it to the grid of this 12AX7, which already has a 1 meg grid leak resistor soldered in place. So I need to get that heat shrink and the heat gun. right. I'm just going to let that play for a little bit because I'm enjoying it. This is a beat my girlfriend made. Her DJ name is Party Water. And I get to play in that band myself. I'm a lucky dude. Alright, so all I do is hook the here we go. I hook the wire, I hook the end of the resistor, snip it short enough, and then I just slip some heat shrink up over it. Make sure to cover that connection. I don't want anything shorting out to anything. Put a little heat on it. This one's good to go. And where's it going to go? This is going to the first input. The first input of the 12AX7. So I'm going to snip, not too short. Ooh. And then I'm going to finagle this to get that right up there in the terminal there, right next to that 1 meg grid leak. And some may notice or say, okay, 47K grid stopper. The Fender value, I think, is like 63 or something, you know. But if, you know, the way it's hooked up for them, I think if you're only going into input 1, you actually cut that in half. So I thought about, you know, going with a lower value to, you know, chase that thing. But then I also thought, well, I wanted that 12X7 input to be a little bit clean, a little bit cleaner. And that's not, you know, the only factor. You know, it's arguably not even the most important factor. But in this arena where I didn't want to change the plate or cathode resistor values, the grid stopper was a value I felt comfortable playing with, and I like it. Anyway, gonna solder that input there. Boom. 12AX7 input is good to go. So let's focus now a little bit on the well, a couple things we could do here. Let's go ahead and do the cathode follower output, because actually, no, what I'm going to do though is measure how far that needs to go, snip it with a little bit of extra, and then I'm going to use this shielded wire to make this connection from the microphone input transformer. It's got its wires terminated on this little post right here. I'm going to make my way from there to the EF86 input selector switch. Actually, maybe before that even. Look at this. Lately I've been wondering if I can just, and I think I can, yep. So for a while I had been doing a wire from the switch to the EF86 input, but I think I'm gonna go an old school route here, and I'm just gonna use a little bit of this heat shrink to make sure the legs of this resistor are well insulated, not going to short to any other spots. And then I'm just going to make the connection with that resistor. And after I make that connection, I will use that shielded wire to make the connection to the audio, the microphone input transformer. Mm-hmm. So let's see how much I'm going to need. And we'll just get to about that length. Great. Sleeve it up. Let's heat shrink that guy to help keep those legs snug. All right. So now let's make this connection. Make sure you get all the tape off the end of this resistor. All right. Okay. Bop-a-doo-bop. All right, then make a nice little hook connection there. A touch of solder. Nice. Down here to the tube terminal. Give it a little hook. Give it a little pinch. Some solder on there. Beautiful. I like it. All right, so now, look, I can bend that. It gives me a little bit of play whenever I need to open this thing back up. So the next thing I want to do is this shielded cable for the audio or the microphone input transformer. So one side of that the secondary of that input transformer is going to be grounded, and that'll be the shield. We're going to ground the shield of this thing and solder it to the same terminal as the ground terminal here. And our signal is going to come from right there. So this wire, I've learned through trial and error, gets real melty. And so you just got to be quick. I suppose I could lower the temperature of my iron and play that game, but for the most part, it works out all right. What I am going to do, though, is tin the shield. I'm going to put a little solder on the tip of the shield right there, so it'll be really easy to just tack it to the grounded post on that terminal strip. All right, so first things first, yeah, I am going to solder the ground here. All right, now I'm going to solder that signal wire. I'm going to try to position it such that I can easily just bend this guy over. And solder it onto the grounded wire. All right. So, yep, Get a little heat on it. All right, looking good. So now, I'm just going to ever so carefully position this guy and get a little heat. Join that shield to the ground. Beautiful. All right. Gotta say, I didn't mean to come off too Bob Ross, but I'll take it. I'll go for it. I'll aspire to it. All right, and now I got this guy. Let's see how long I need to be with it. You know, no longer than it needs to be is a pretty good rule of thumb, right? So how about long enough that I can still prop this open? So all I'm gonna do, snip it off with just a tiny bit of extra. Boom, popped it off. All right, gonna cut off the outer insulation, revealing the shield, the braided shield that we saw on the other end. Just going to gather that up onto one side, twist, collect it, bend it down, make sure there's no bit sticking out. And I'm going to get a bit of heat shrink. Put it over here to hold that shield in place, right? Get our heat. While I'm heating, how about some more of that party water? Yeah? All right, so what we got here is our mic transformer output. This little guy right there. And so that's going on the switch. It's going to be one side of the switch, the other side, of course, being the 1/4-inch input from the combo jack. Nice connection. We'll solder. And there's that. Beautiful. I love it. Okay, so the next thing is I want to work out the. Turn that back down now. All right, so now we've got the inputs to the EF86 through this switch. That's going to the input of the EF86. The output is showing up right here at this capacitor. And that's going to get connected to this volume control. And then similarly over here we have the input from the 12AX7 going to the input, well, let me save that a different way. This input right here, these two inputs, they are going through this grid stopper to the first half of the 12AX7. And that output shows up right here at this capacitor. So the next thing that I will do, gonna do, is connect a couple of resistors, mixing resistors, going 470K. And those are going to get mixed together and attached to the grid of the second half of that 12AX7. That is the tube that mixes the two signals. And you may be wondering, okay, why is this wire coming right off the volume control and this wire is not? Well, before this wire comes back to get mixed in, it goes to this jack where it's switched to automatically go out here through a mixing resistor into the mixing triode. But if you plug something into here, that signal shows up output from this jack. So I've done it before where you run a microphone into here, set the level, run the line out of there straight into your recording interface, and then also run a guitar into this channel, set that level, run the speaker out to a speaker load, and record your guitar with the 12AX7 half with the EL84, and then have the EF86 running just as a one-tube mic preamp. Anyway, that jack is switched, and the signal's got to go over there first, and then it comes off of there into the mixing resistors and into the second half of the 12AX7. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to leave this amplifier alone all week. I've got other stuff to work on. And then next week I'm going to pick it up right there, and we're going to wire in the mixing half of the 12AX7, and the output of that, we're going to deal with the cathode follower output from that, as well as the rest of the power amp section. Wire up the power switch and all of that good nonsense. And yeah, I think after I think that'll be a lot of fun. We'll pick it up next week, same time at 4, and hopefully next week we'll be able to finish up those last few things and then put some tubes in it and try it out. I had one just last week where I put the wrong power tube in. I just grabbed the wrong one out of a box. So it happens, but even after that, I got the right power tube in there, and I thought, well, I'm good to go. Well, it turned out that I had a bad pot right from the factory. It is a 1 meg pot, but no signal would get through it. So I thought I had something wrong. Tried a different EF86, to no luck. Eventually got the scope out and just doing some signal tracing, and saw the signal at the top input of the volume control, and then nothing. So, put a new volume control in there, and it worked. And that, my friends, was the amp that I was playing at the beginning of the video. So, anyway, yeah, that's a really good stopping point. We've wired up the inputs of both preamp tubes, and that includes the transformer coupled input and the normal 12AX7 straight into the the grid through a grid stopper. We talked about the tone control and the volume controls. And next week, we're going to finish this amp and listen to it. And so, thanks a bunch. If you dig it, follow the Instagram, follow, the YouTube page. I'm getting really close to meeting all the criteria to monetize the page, which I would love to do. Not gonna lie, that'd be really cool. So if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, that'd be great, and I really appreciate it. Big thanks to my moderator, and I will see you guys next time. Adios.